Welcome back to Weeknight Mysteries podcast. My name is Yuras, and as every week, I'm here with my co-host Rain. How are you?
Feeling completely okay, as always, as every other episode. How are you today?
I'm good. I'm generally feeling kind of
Peaceful?
peaceful. I'm feeling like it's overdue. Like we have been trying to record this particular episode on a couple of days now,
Yeah.
and it just didn't seem like we could ever get our schedules together. So finally, we're here. You know what I mean? And today we want to talk about the case that I found while I was on Reddit. I was browsing Reddit and I saw a post about the Mary Cooper and Susanna Stodden unsolved murder case, and I started looking into it, and I immediately knew that I kind of wanted to talk about this case more, especially because I feel like this case is a case that it's cold. It's definitely a cold case, but I really feel like someone may know something, and that raising awareness about this particular case is actually worth it. It's worth raising awareness for all cold cases, don't get me wrong, but I felt like, this is the case that I wanted to kind of focus in on. You don't know anything about this case, or you don't know much, right?
Not at all. I don't know anything at all.
All right.
Actually, I have one question before we start.
Of course.
Was this a recent case?
No, this is a case from 2006. So Mary Cooper and Susanna Stodden, they're a mother and daughter who were killed on July 11th in 2006. So it's been quite a while, and the details surrounding this death is that both mother and daughter, they were on a hike at Pinnacle Lake Trail, located at Mount Baker-Snoqualmie National Forest near Granite Falls in Washington State. And what seems that happened is that they have been murdered in cold blood for no apparent reason. And the thing that sticks out about this particular case to me is that there seems to be no motive that has been identified, at least what law enforcement has released to the public and what I was able to find during my research online. There was no motive for the murders, just a mother and daughter hiking peacefully, and for some reason someone had shot them, both apparently in the head, from what the information is online, and just no motive whatsoever.
No other victims were found within that area, right? Just
No.
specifically them.
Just specifically them, yeah, that's true.
Oh, that's odd.
So a little bit information about the family, Mary and Susanna Stodden. So Mary Cooper was 56 at the time of her death, and Susanna was 27. Mary was married to David Stodden, a man that has been trying to find answers ever since the murders happened. Together, Mary and David had 3 daughters. So David still has 2 daughters that support him, and they need to keep pushing for answers, and I think they're doing all they can. So David, to me, from the research, seemed like he's doing a lot, and he's very commendable in this case. The murders took place on July 11th, 2006. It was a Tuesday, so it was the middle of the week, mind you. Yeah, sorry.
Sorry.
No,
they went
take it.
hiking in the middle of the week?
Yeah, in the middle of the week.
Is it like after work?
No, actually, that's a good question. Apparently, Mary and David were living. They all were living in Washington. Mary, David, and at least Susanna, their oldest daughter. She was also living in Washington. And The information that I have found was that at around 8 a.m. in the morning on a Tuesday, it was summer, by the way, and I think Susanna, she was about to become a school teacher. So in the summertime, I could understand that she probably doesn't have
Yeah.
to go to work. And her mother, Mary, was actually a school librarian. So she still has to work a little bit because apparently librarians have to order school books for the children during the year. But maybe they had like a day off on a Tuesday, both of them. And they decided to go hiking. Hiking was something that this family did fairly often. They were very outdoorsy, especially Susanna. Susanna, from the information I found, was a very outdoorsy person. She loved going hiking. She loved the outdoors. So at 8 a.m., Mary, the mother, had left the family home and went to pick up Susanna, and then they would drive approximately 2 hours towards Pinnacle Lake Trail. When Mary and Susanna arrived at the trailhead, there were just a few cars parked, I guess, in the general parking location. At around 10 a.m., we know that Mary and Susanna ran into another couple. So from one source, this couple consisted of a retired music teacher and a doctor. So just another couple that were also hiking the Pinnacle Lake Trail. So apparently the couple and the two victims of this case had a conversation before they headed on the trail. So I'm not really sure how long the Pinnacle Lake Trail extends to, but we know that Mary and Susanna were murdered 2 miles into the trail, which is very odd as well. I think we're going to touch this detail in a little bit. The thing about, what Mary and Susanna and the couple talked about was that the other couple that they met at the trailhead.
So there were two couples.
Well, the couple that they met were like a romantic couple, and the couple that were the victims were mother and daughter.
Oh, okay. Got it.
So what they talked about was that the other couple told Mary and Susanna that their initial plan is to actually walk towards the Pinnacle Lake, because I feel like the Pinnacle Lake Trail starts somewhere and then it ends at the Pinnacle Lake itself. But the other couple planned to walk towards the lake and then walk past the lake a little bit, while Susanna and her mother Mary were only intending to walk towards the lake and then go back. So this other couple started their trek first, and they just started walking eventually, you know what I mean? Sometime during their hike, this couple, the retired music teacher and the doctor, reported hearing a loud thunder in, I guess, the area.
Yeah.
But in retrospect, now they think it was probably gunshots. A gunshot that was most likely used, or was most likely the gunshot that, killed Mary and Susanna. So this couple, as they were hiking back from way past the Pinnacle Lake, they saw Mary and Susanna dead without any signs of life, a little bit off to the side.
Off to the side, so they were dragged to the side?
A little bit, but apparently from the information that I found, not that much, just slightly. And so they did what I guess anyone would do. They started rushing down the trail to kind of get some help. It makes sense, right?
Yeah. Checks out so far.
As they went back to the beginning of the trail, they already realized that someone else had already made a call to law enforcement. So there was another set of hikers, at least one hiker or another couple of hikers. I couldn't really find the information who exactly were the people who initially found Susanna and Mary. And they had already called law enforcement. They called law enforcement for help at around 2:30 p.m. that afternoon, and law enforcement apparently arrived shortly after. And then the investigation began. So, very strange case. Seems like there was no motive. On top of that, didn't seem like there was any sexual assault happening from the information that I found, nor was there any motive of a robbery, because from the information that I've seen, it wasn't stated that anything was stolen of the two women. Another strange fact is that this happened on a trail that was, fairly, I guess, popular. It wasn't a very secluded trail, a trail that even on a Tuesday
Yeah.
morning had people going there. And another interesting thing is that it happened 2 miles into the trail. So someone was either following them or waiting somewhere there. Any thoughts about that?
Possibly, yeah. I
mean-
mean, it depends.
Yeah, because it's you have to think about it from this perspective that there's people walking that trail, and there were 2 people that saw the body before law enforcement even arrived. So you have to think that if you're going to commit this murder for no apparent motive, why would you? Where will you go? Will you go somewhere into the woods, hide in the woods, or will you also make your way back down the trail, potentially getting spotted by people?
Definitely the woods. Because that person, whoever committed the crime, would have the weapon.
Yeah, exactly. And anyone on the trail is essentially considered a suspect.
And we're not even sure if it's like a shotgun or something.
Exactly. Well, I don't know. I think it was a pistol, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong. I could be mistaken about this detail.
Because one of the things I'm thinking about is that it could be like a weird accident. Someone was hunting around the woods, heard some scuffling, thought it was an animal, shot it twice. Turns out it was Mary and Suzanne. But it's highly unlikely.
The accident theory.
Yeah, the accident theory, because they were shot in their heads. Like, how freaky is that?
Yeah, it seems like a very
Specific, yeah.
specific. Yeah.
Yeah, if it's like around their body and like different ones. For example, Mary got shot in her chest, or Suzanne got shot in like her thighs. It would be kinda a little bit more probable that it could be an accident. What do you think?
Oh yeah, I agree with that. The fact that both of them were shot
Specifically.
in the head area, I just don't see how. I mean, I did put some thinking into it, but I agree. I don't really see how this could be a
Hunting accident or
hunting
something.
accident or something like that. Then, unless it was a hunting accident and you accidentally kill one of the women and then to kind of cover your tracks, and then you commit it's murder either way, but then the second murder is intentional.
Yeah, but they were also dragged a little bit. Like, if you committed an accident, wouldn't you want to like drag them deep into the forest?
Exactly. That's also something. I guess law enforcement probably went over all of these kind of potential scenarios. So
Yeah.
It's interesting to think about, at least, So, as I've mentioned earlier, it's actually unknown if sexual assault was a motive. I've heard one source claim that apparently some pieces of their clothing were removed, but I don't think law enforcement really specified anything about that. Also, it didn't seem like it was a robbery, because apparently nothing was stolen off of the two women. Investigators commented on the news report that I've seen that they believe that this was most likely a random act. It seemed like there was no motive behind the murders. And there are no reasons that would lead these women to get murdered in this senseless and cold way, because both of them were very liked and did not seem to have any enemies. When their funerals happened, over 1,000 people had showed up, the whole community. They were beloved members of the community. They really were loved by everyone who they knew, and they loved everyone they knew. So it was a very tragic thing for the community.
Yeah, but what about the father, though?
David?
Yeah.
So David actually was investigated quite a lot by law enforcement. And they had to focus on David for a very long time. And you think that kind of makes sense because David is, a father and a family member. And according to statistics in America, a lot of similar murders happen, and culprits sometimes, happen to be close people.
Yeah.
It's, I think, statistically more likely to get murdered by someone you actually know rather than a completely random person. So I guess they were following procedures and they were investigating David. Now, David actually spoke out a lot about it, and I think it left a bad taste for him. And I can't even imagine what I wanted to say. I can't even imagine what David must have been going through.
Yeah.
The only thing about David's day that I know is that David actually was working on the day when Mary and Susanna were murdered. He was working as a I think home improvement guy, like a
builder.
Like a builder, but he was renovating homes from the information that I've seen. And apparently that day he was working on renovating a house. And he was working up until, I think, 5 p.m. Then he went back home. And he initially, I think, expected to already see Mary back home. Because I think Mary told him that she should be back home by around 4:30 p.m. that afternoon. And he returned around 5:30 p.m. But when he didn't see Mary, initially he didn't think much of it because he thought that maybe Mary is running some errands or something of that matter. Also, on top of that, later on that evening, David had made plans already to go meet up with a friend to train for some sort of a cycling event. And so he went there and he trained and had dinner with that friend, and then he came back home. And as he came back home, that's when he knew that something was wrong because it was already like 8 or 9 p.m.
Yeah.
And Mary has still not returned home. And shortly after that, actually investigators arrived to his home and explained to him what had happened. He was allegedly already preparing to go look for the 2 women himself, but he didn't get a chance to do it before investigators had already approached him and explained that, his daughter and wife had been senselessly murdered.
What a terrible news.
Yeah, I can't even imagine.
Yeah.
So he has been cleared, but he has been cleared after many years. I don't know exactly the year when he was cleared. I believe it was somewhere around 2018 or something like that. He had provided multiple polygraph tests, and at one point he told the media that law enforcement told him that they will not be investigating Mary's case unless he actually submits to another polygraph. And then he actually went out and did it again, I think for the 3rd time at that point, submitted another polygraph test just so that law enforcement could actually start doing something about the case. He has been, as I understand, disappointed that there hasn't been any movement in the case for a long time now. It's been since 2006. So it's been like 18 years. We still don't know any information. To finish off, what we know from the investigation is that it's also unknown what investigative measures authorities had utilized. It was not released. It's not public information. As far as I understand, the trail has been closed off for 2 days and then it was reopened after. It's unknown if detectives had been able to collect any DNA evidence as well. On top of that, we don't know if law enforcement knows the model of the gun that was used and if this information could be used to trace the potential culprit or culprits in this cold case at this point. So this is what we have about the case. Anything that kind of jumps to you specifically? For me, you know how we, on this podcast, we focus on missing people sometimes and people.
Yeah, this is quite different.
This is a different case, and I felt like it was very important to kind of raise awareness for Mary Cooper's and Susanna Stodden's case because I think that if someone was actually hiking in that whole area in the Mount Baker-Snoqualmie National Forest in Washington State, in the summer, specifically in July of 2006, maybe you have taken a picture or a video, or you've seen a car kind of driving fast, or you've seen someone strange, or you feel like you saw something strange. All of this information should definitely be submitted to Snoqualmie County Sheriff's Office via an anonymous tip, if you please. You know what I mean? You could leave an anonymous tip. There's literally no problems. People leave anonymous tips all the time.
It's been years.
It's been years. So we will leave the tip line in the description of this podcast. So I felt like if someone has been camping there or knows someone who has been camping there, because there could be a situation happening here where someone literally has critical information, but they do not know that they have that critical information. Do you know what I mean? Maybe someone was camping or hiking and never even knew about the murders. And they could literally bring out some more stuff. So, I know our audience is not very big so far. We're growing, but it's not the biggest yet. But maybe someone from our audience knows someone in Washington State who was an avid camper in 2006. I mean, you never know. I know it's like the chances are not always like in, the statistically you don't know if we will be able to find the answers, but
it's unlikely, but
we have
nice
to try.
Yeah.
We have to try. As long as we try, we can feel good that we tried. And so that's the general thing. I thought you were saying something. I feel like I interrupted you. I'm sorry.
It's all good. Initially, okay, I'm thinking of 3 possible scenarios. One would be a freak hunting accident, which is kind of weird because they were both shot specifically on the head. So it's probably unlikely.
Also, we need to know if hunting is a thing in that trail.
Yeah, that's true.
Which I don't know. I don't know that information. But
we don't have that information.
Okay, but please go on.
And then, because it was so weird how they were both shot specifically on the head and then dragged a little bit, but not all the way through. Maybe like just enough for people to see.
Yes. Why is that? Why drag them just slightly off the trail?
It seems intentional, specific for specific people. And so I was also thinking possibly revenge. Yeah, they seem very loved and they seem to be really nice ladies. And everybody loves them. Basically, like a librarian and a teacher. Who wouldn't love them? But what if the father encountered an enemy or something, had an altercation somewhere, and that whoever that person is extracted a revenge to the father?
Yeah, and just a quick disclaimer, in my opinion, I think it's important to kind of go over these potential scenarios because I know law enforcement did already investigate this.
Yeah.
But I guess we're just talking about it because even though what we're saying is probably really unlikely, but what
just
if it
assumptions.
is? But what if it is?
Yeah.
What if it is? What if something like this could be the case? I mean, we're really working with very limited information.
Very
here,
limited.
So everything is very speculative.
So yeah, I was just thinking, was it revenge? Possibly, not to the ladies themselves, but could be from someone they know of or someone important to them. That's what I was thinking, because it seemed like they were targeted. I'm not gonna lie.
It does?
I don't know, it seemed like it.
For me, after doing my research, kind of I got the sense that it was very like a random
one.
A random
But why
senseless
only
act.
them though? There were a lot of people in that trail.
I don't know. Maybe that's just when the opportunity arose for this evil person or multiple people.
Yeah, if there's a psychopath and they're hiding behind bushes, they saw 2 nice ladies, shot them. What was stopping them for shooting some more? Calling it a rampage.
Exactly. And from what I looked into it, it didn't seem like there was any similar things that had happened in the general area. Like before or after.
Yeah. So it kind of seems a little targeted to me.
During the research, I literally couldn't find anything that would indicate that this was a targeted thing. Even law enforcement said it was random.
Really?
Yeah, on the news report.
I see.
So that's why I'm kind of pushing back a little bit on this one, but you know, you never know.
Yeah.
You can never know because we don't know, but
I'm curious though, like,
yeah.
you know how law enforcement would have like information and during their investigation they would know if they were shot closely in a close proximity or from a distance.
Mm-hmm.
I'm curious about that.
That's a very good thought.
Yeah, was there a confrontation before they were killed, or is it like a sniper thing from the very far behind?
You know, that's a very, I guess,
from
also,
a tree or something.
Yeah, that's an important kind of detail, but it's anyone's guess at this point because it's not public information.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, that's a good thought. So you said you had three. You had one was an accident, second was targeted. Do you still have the third one?
Yeah,
or?
the third one is they were just random victims,
Oh,
like
random.
as you said.
Okay.
Yeah, but I don't know. It's kind of just odd to me that whoever that person, psychopath was, just stopped at 2 in a very popular hiking trail.
Yeah. I mean, I understand your point of view.
Did they just want like a commotion?
Yeah.
How about you? I remember yesterday you were mentioning something about Israel Keys, like he's somehow involved.
Actually, I was gonna kind of jump into that one.
Oh, nice.
So Israel Keys has been thrown into this mix, you know, the infamous serial killer who is responsible for potentially more than up to 11 or even more murders all throughout America. And Israel Keys, I did actually find an interview that was, I guess, you know, taken with a man named Josh Hallmark. Josh Hallmark has his own podcast, and in his podcast called, and I know I'm gonna swear, and we can say this on YouTube, don't worry about it.
No need to bleep it out, I guess.
True Crime Bullshit Podcast, where Josh Hallmark focuses essentially on Israel Keys, and they're basically trying to identify all of the victims that this, you know, evil person may have committed over the years. And Josh Hallmark in an interview had actually explained that they do know some information about Israel Keys on this day. So the things that we know about Israel Keys on July 11th, 2006 is that he had rented a car on this day. It is unknown exactly where he had rented the car from, how many miles he had put on the car, or when he had returned the car. The fact that he rented a car is known only from a transaction through Hertz Car Rental. Apparently, this transaction didn't include a lot of information, just the fact that there was some sort of a car rental happening. Additionally, investigators know that Israel had multiple phone pings throughout the day in Nia Bay, Washington. Nia Bay, Washington is on the edge of Washington state. It's around 5 hours away from Pinnacle Lake area. And the timestamps for those phone pings almost make it completely impossible. In my opinion, from that interview, as I gathered, it is actually impossible that Israel Keys could have committed this murder, because he couldn't just he couldn't be in Nia Bay, then be in Pinnacle Lake, and literally just a few hours later be in Nia Bay again, because just one way trip from Nia Bay to Pinnacle Lake is, in Washington state, it's like 5 hours according to Google Maps. So I don't think, like, from the phone ping perspective, I don't think it was possible. And on top of that, he has been ruled out by investigators. So I would probably also, we're only talking about trying to raise some awareness for Mary Cooper and Susanna Stodden's case. So we're not obviously going to solve this crime. So
Definitely
I'm
not.
I'm just stating the facts that it seems to me that Israel Keys is not responsible for this murder, but there are a lot of discussions online about this particular detail, about this particular serial killer.
But wasn't the method of the way the ladies were killed kind of different from the usual Israel Keys?
Yes, it was.
He tortured people.
He tortured people, and
Yeah.
it seemed like these two women were just shot
Yeah.
for no reason.
Mm-hmm.
So that concludes Israel Keyes theory. As I've said, the other kind of two theories that were kind of thrown out that I've seen online was that it was potential hunters and it was an accident, or maybe people who were shooting just for fun in the area. So that was something that was kind of thrown out there.
Possibly, yeah.
Yeah, potentially. On top of that, there was some speculation, and I couldn't verify this, that allegedly the whole location, the Pinnacle Lake Trail, or maybe more so the Mount Baker-Snoqualmie National Forest in Washington State, is known for some drug activity like meth and marijuana operations. And that maybe Mary and Susanna had seen something that they were not supposed to see.
That could be it, actually.
Yeah, but once again,
Speculations.
Speculative, apparently, yeah. So that's what we have right now. You know what I mean? This is Mary Cooper and Susanna Stodden's unsolved murder case. To close off, I have a few kind of things here that I noted for myself. So the things that were interesting to me is that there was no apparent motive that has been released by law enforcement. David Stodden thinks that the culprit or culprits were not older people because he knows the trail and he thinks that it wasn't someone old. Must have been someone 20s, 30s, 40s, maybe not like 60s.
Still young, yeah.
Yeah, like, you know what I mean, like a younger person, or at least a person who has the ability to kind of hike. And the fact that they were murdered 2 miles into the trail, maybe it means that this person is familiar with the location.
Seemed like it, yeah.
So that's something we could kind of try to, estimate at least. The fact that it was committed 2 miles into the trail is also very important, I believe. In this case, it didn't happen at the end of at the beginning of the trail. It kind of happened at the very end of the trail, almost at the very end. So I would assume almost at Pinnacle Lake. So maybe it could have been someone who was at the Pinnacle Lake for a few days at that point.
Yeah, but it's still really odd because it's a fairly popular destination, fairly popular hiking trail, and they're not like the first people there.
Yeah.
And possibly throughout the day, people were in and out.
Yeah, and it was summer. Tuesday.
Summer at that.
Yeah.
Everyone's out and about.
Yeah, you have to also... I mean, not really. On a Tuesday, people are working.
That's true.
So you have to think about someone who wasn't at work or is unemployed.
Yeah, that's true.
David Stodden has been trying to raise awareness, and he told a podcast that I've listened to that there could be people that actually know more information on this case without even realizing that they know something crucial. These would be people who had been in and around General Mount Baker-Snoqualmie National Forest area in Washington State during July of 2006. So please, if you have a tip or some information that you think could be useful in this investigation, please contact Snohomish County Sheriff's Office. We will leave a tip line in the description. You could also easily find it online. And just wanted to raise awareness about this case. That's all I wanted to do with this one. You know what I mean? Thank you so much, Rain, for joining me on this podcast.
Well, thank you for having me.
Of course, as always. And, yep.
But 1 second before we go, we have to address the questions of our commentators, YouTube subscribers.
Okay.
Why aren't we doing Lithuanian cases?
Oh, yeah, that's a good question. Lithuanian cases. That's maybe because... Honestly, there's not that much information on Lithuanian cases. And when it comes to like Lithuanian cases, we did have like some kind of events that are happening lately. And we almost actually even participated in a search for a missing person here in Lithuania. It was this young girl who went missing, but they found her.
She was just a runaway.
She was it seemed like a case of a runaway. The thing about Lithuanian cases is that honestly, I don't even know that many Lithuanian cases.
I don't even know one.
Exactly. So it's maybe in Lithuania, and I could be mistaken here, but in Lithuania, I think, well, obviously it's a small country. It's a very tiny country.
And not much is happening
here.
in
the middle of nowhere. We're literally in the middle of nowhere, and there's not much happening here. And I would say, I promise to our audience members, if we do see something that's kind of breaking, or something that we can find some information and it's like really worth actually talking about it without just, rambling and speculating randomly, if we could actually, bring some awareness to a case and actually it would benefit, then I would definitely consider doing it. I would love to do it.
Of course.
But that was the answer. I guess to kind of give you a straight up answer, not something very politically correct, we're in the middle of nowhere and nothing is happening here.
Yeah, it reminds me of the news that we had recently, and it's basically just about a hole in the ground close to the children's playground.
Yeah, something like that. We don't get like a lot of this kind of local, local news. It's a different world here. Okay, it's a very different.
Pretty funny.
It's a different world here in Lithuania. It's a small country.
Oh, we could say peaceful.
It's definitely peaceful.
Yeah.
Oh, one thing that Lithuania has is peace. That's for sure. But I think focusing on the American cases is something that could actually
Yeah, because America is just too wide, too broad.
Yeah.
And there's so much things happening.
Yeah.
And so many cases to like talk about, to bring awareness to.
Exactly, and I guess it's the easiest thing. It's a lot easier. So maybe that's the true answer here.
Yeah.
But please, guys, leave your thoughts in the comments and what do you think happened? And please also try to consider anyone that you may know, or if you're from Washington State yourself, just think about the case. Just think about it, raise some awareness, and thank you so much for listening. And I'm happy we were finally able to record the podcast.
Yeah.
Again. Let's do more, please.
Of course.
Okay.
And hopefully we'll have closure in this case after years and years of searching and waiting.
Dude, I will pray for this one.
Yeah.
I really want, because I can't even imagine what David must have went through. Like, it literally is so heartbreaking. Like, you have no idea. Like, this case is, because you sometimes imagine what would you do if it happened to you? I mean,
it's so unexpected. It seemed like a regular day for him, and then all of a sudden,
everything collapses.
Everything collapsed. Yeah.
Unfortunately, that's what happens sometimes. Thank you guys for listening, and we'll be back talking about some more, I guess, cases of such manner, and we'll talk to you soon.
Bye. Take care.
Bye.
See you.